What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the Counting Wisdom podcast. I wanted to give some comments on the war in Israel. This is another sign of the end times. Not necessarily, a full, clear sign of knowing exactly when the rapture is going to be, because, again, I made a note in my podcast yesterday that no one knows the day or the hour. So Jesus was pretty clear about that in regards to the coming of Jesus, which we believe is the rapture, and then he touches the earth, after the tribulation. And so I think it's important to note that this war that's broke out in Israel, some scholars believe there is going to be what the Bible refers to as a Gog and Magog war, which is kind of confusing name, but it's in Ezekiel 38 and 39, where Russia invades Israel, and then God destroys the invaders. I personally take the viewpoint that that doesn't happen until the book of Revelation, where it's the Battle of Armageddon. Even though a lot of pastors do say that, there's an Ezekiel 38 war, before the tribulation. You see, I hold to the viewpoint that the book of Revelation describes all future events that will happen, as far as the prophecies and, in regards to Israel and the end times. And, oh, by the way, you might hear a kid in the background. It's my daughter. She's kind of talkative right now. But anyway, and so I believe Revelation describes all events that are going to happen, and we don't see in Revelation a Gog and Magog war. You would think that John, the writer of Revelation, would write in the book of Revelation the Gog and Magog war, which I think he does, but it's the Battle of Armageddon, where the specific name Gog, G-O-G, is used. And so, pastors do say that it's different and it's not the same, but, I don't see what they're saying, and to be honest, it's hard to just pick and choose a verse out of Ezekiel or, and try to apply that to just some unknown chime that you are subjectively choosing to put, in the timeline of the end times. So I hold to the fact that the book of Revelation describes all events. So, the seals have to be opened first. In the beginning books, in chapter 6 of Revelation, there are 6 seals that Jesus opens. And the first seal is open, and we have a conquering person or a spirit that goes out and tries to conquer different peoples in the world. And so I believe that the tribulation starts when this 6th seal is open. I don't hold to the viewpoint that Revelation is complete symbolism, or Revelation is in the past and we're now just waiting for the second coming. No, I believe we haven't even passed Revelation chapter 6 yet, or really chapter 5 and 6, because I believe we're still in the church age. But going back to the book of, the war in Israel, I think this war is just another sign. It could fizzle out. it could fizzle out, or it could turn into an even bigger conflict, especially if other countries decide to get involved in some way. But again, Israel has always been fighting with other surrounding countries, and so that in of itself, it's still a sign, but it's just something that is sort of common between Israel and the surrounding cities, countries that surround Israel. But I still think that, hey, the rapture could be soon. In regards to, we shouldn't talk ourselves out of the rapture here, and we shouldn't, even though we shouldn't say that nothing is a sign, something has to be a sign of, the end times, and there was also an earthquake in Afghanistan, which just shows there's been more and more earthquakes happening. And Jesus said there will be wars and rumors of wars, but he said don't let that alarm you. But still, he said it was the beginning of the end, beginning of sorrows. And so those wars and rumors of wars are a beginning of sorrows, meaning that it begins until it ends. And we know the end of those sorrows is the end of the tribulation. There's tribulation, and then it turns into great tribulation. And then the Bible uses tribulation, the word tribulation, for everyday troubles that we go through as Christians. Collectively, there's different troubles that Jesus said, in this world you will have tribulation. And so that's a different type of tribulation than what is talked about as we commonly call the tribulation, which is Revelations chapters 6 through 19. But again, hey, I will acknowledge that, hey, I could be wrong about the Ezekiel 38. I try to hold to the fact that we shouldn't get super, what the word is called is dogmatic, where we are so certain that, hey, everything has to happen exactly as we say. Of course, according to Scripture, certain things do have to happen that way, but we also have to leave room for who God is, which, in Jesus's time, the people there were expecting Jesus to conquer the Romans, and they were expecting Jesus to be a king over Israel right then and there, and they did not expect Jesus to, what we have discovered is, wait 2,000 years. It's been 2,000 years since Jesus walked the earth, and Israel, majority of Israel, rejected Jesus Christ, and so salvation was offered to the Gentile nations, which are non-Jewish people. And so I think this is just another notch in the timeline, and I think that, hey, it's another sign to, start getting ready. If you, feel like you need to get more ready, I think, it's just another sign, especially when, a lot of scholars say, hey, we need to look at what's happening in Israel. That's how we know, what's going on in the timeline, is that we look to what's happening in Israel. And, some say that the third temple needs to be built, because sacrifices have to be stopped by the Antichrist, and he stops daily sacrifices. And so maybe this war, I know there was supposed to be a Saudi peace deal between Israel and Saudi Arabia, and so maybe this war is one step closer to maybe a temple being built. And what I mean by that is, maybe this conflict leads up to certain pieces being played. And so when this conflict is over, maybe there is some agreement that is made to build the temple. Now, that leads me to another idea that, maybe the Antichrist rises up, because there's supposed to be a peace treaty. That's what scholars call it in the book of Revelation, is a peace treaty that is signed to bring peace to Israel. And, you can see this in the Left Behind movies, where there needs to be peace in the Middle East, so to speak. And so, this ongoing conflict, maybe the Antichrist is going to rise up, and, not that we want him to rise up. We don't want him to rise up, but I'm just talking from the standpoint of, things that God said is going to happen. And, maybe, the Antichrist comes on the stage, and there's a peace treaty signed in order for them to build the temple. And then when people are saying peace and safety, then sudden destruction falls on them. But again, we don't know until we just really see this play out. I know Israel is calling this a full-on war between them and what the organization called is Hamas. And so, yeah, I do believe it's a sign of the times, and, I do recommend watching the Left Behind movies. I do believe that they're pretty accurate, but, again, in the Left Behind movies, they do hold to that Ezekiel 38, 39 war, Gog and Magog war, that, Russia is and allies, other countries fight against Israel. And again, that could happen. I'm not saying that, I'm a full-on expert on end times. I'm just giving you my opinion on this. But I do see that, there is some indication about the way that the armies are described to be destroyed in Ezekiel 38. It seems like it's the same way that they're destroyed in the book of Revelation, towards the end of the book of Revelation. I think this is chapters 18 and 19, I want to say, around there. And so, maybe, like I said, what's going to happen is, the lawless one is revealed, and there's some sort of peace treaty signed. Someone steps up and says, "Hey, you guys, stop fighting. Let's try to bring peace here." And then they're able to build the temple, and then we really get vamped up into the end times. One last thing as I end this podcast is that remember that Jesus said that the events in Revelation must soon take place. It must soon take place. And so, honestly, it is easier for us to think that maybe it could happen in our lifetime, because, it's easier to say that than completely having this mindset of, oh, I know it's not going to be in my lifetime. Well, I don't think that's a wise thing to think. I think that as we have the fact that, it's been 2,000 years of the church age where, Jesus has been growing the church. Once Israel became a nation in 1948, I think that, when the book of Revelation says these things must soon take place, one day it has to happen, and someone somewhere is going to be making a podcast or making a YouTube video, and these events are going to start taking place. And so, we just have to look up, Jesus said, when you start to see these things take place, and he said, when you see all the things take place in Matthew 24, he said, look up, lift up your head because your redemption draws near, meaning your salvation draws near. But I think, again, that statement could possibly apply to the second coming. The rapture, I do hold to that the rapture is before the tribulation. It's possible that the lawless one could be revealed, but at the same time, we won't fully see, the mark of the beast or anything like that, happening. I think if this peace treaty is signed, between Israel and, Saudi Arabia, which I don't know if it is the same peace treaty that is in the book of Revelation, but when this peace treaty is signed by the Antichrist, people are going to be saying peace and safety. But then sudden destruction falls on them, which means then the great tribulation happens. And so, one other thing to note is that, hey, if you're confused about all of this, God is not the author of confusion, but, I think we have to remember that, hey, the Lord is coming. I do believe in a rapture, and, it's better to be ready than, caught without clothes on, so to speak, without living in righteousness. So thanks so much for checking out this podcast. Hopefully it was helpful to someone, and I will talk to you on the next one. See ya. Oh, also, if you want to subscribe to this channel, please go ahead and do so. Thanks.